everybody. I heard that you cannot hear us, so hopefully everyone can hear us now. Apologize for that. We're going to kind of dive in since we are a little bit behind time now. My name is Tia Flick. I'm a partner here at WhereAware. I've been handling Google Analytics for about 10 years, so hopefully I can kind of lay down a little bit of my experience to you all and go over some basics. Google Analytics is a really intense tool. It has a lot of features and functionality, and today we're just going to kind of brush on some of the basics to get you guys started using it. Before we dive into the content, we're going to go through a little bit about WhereAware. We're a privately held digital agency. We're located right outside of Washington, D.C., near Dulles Airport. We have about 17 years of experience building websites, doing email, SEO, pay-per-click, data integration, and of course, analytics, which is why you all are here today. We have a broad range of clients from B2B to B2C to e-com to non-e-com. And this broad experience allows us to kind of bring best practices from one sector to the next. So today we're going to talk about what Google Analytics is, how to set up Google Analytics, some of the basic lingo, tips and tricks, and then go over some key takeaways. And Lauren mentioned this earlier, and I don't think you heard her, but feel free to ask questions in your chat box as we go along. We will try to get to them at the end of this presentation. And she also mentioned that we are going to be sending this presentation of the recording out to everybody either tonight or tomorrow, along with a great handy Google Analytics checklist. So you will be getting that again either tonight or tomorrow morning. All right, so let's talk about Google Analytics. About 95% of the top 200 marketing sites use Google Analytics. It is very prevalent. Almost everyone you talk to uses Google Analytics, even if they're using a more advanced tool like Core Metrics or Adobe. They usually use it in conjunction with Google Analytics. So it's really important as you're starting your career, or if you're in the middle of the career or late in your career, that you kind of have at least a basic understanding of Google Analytics and what it does. So Google Analytics is a free product. They also have a paid version of it, but we're just talking about the free product today. And basically, it allows you to see what's happening on your website. So it's going to tell you users and revenue, conversion rates, all that good stuff on what is actually going on your website. So we're going to talk through setting it up. The first thing I want to talk through is how basically the account is set up. So on your right, you're going to see a picture that kind of outlines how the accounts are set up. And at the top, you have an actual account. That's the topmost level of Google Analytics. And underneath that, you can have different properties. So properties would be multiple websites. They could be a mobile application or a specific device. So for example, let's say that you are a B2B company that also has a B2C website. You might have one account, and then you have your B2B on one property and your B2C site on the second property. Then within the property, you can have different views. So the views might be showing specific views for the different channels that you work on. So maybe your email team has one view and your pay-per-click team has another view. It could be tracking subdomains. So maybe you want to track your subdomains at a separate views. So you kind of would look at it views under that type of structure. And then you can set users and permissions at each level. You can set users and permissions at the account level so that they have access to every property. You can set it at the property level so they only have access to specific properties. And then you can even set it at the view level so that maybe you only want your email team to see the email view of your account. So let's talk about getting started. It's pretty simple. You need to go to analytics.google.com. And when you get there, you're going to see basically this bar that's up above that we have outlined here. And you're going to click sign up. The only things that you really need when you sign up are a name for your account, the name of your website, you need the URL for your website, and then you need to know your time zone and your industry. So it's pretty simple to get started. Once you input all that information, Google Analytics is going to provide you with some website tracking code that you can either put on your website yourself if you have access to your back end, or you can send that code to your developer and they can put it on for you. A couple of tidbits to kind of remember as you're putting on this code is one, that you want to make sure that the Google Analytics code is on every single page of your website, even checkout pages or thank you pages. And then the second thing that's really common that we see a lot is that you want to make sure you're not duplicating the same code on the same page. Oftentimes, if you see duplicate code, what you're going to notice is that page views skyrocket and your bounce rate almost goes to 0. So that's something to be on a lookout for, and it's a pretty common error, which is why we wanted to bring it up on step 1 of getting your website ready. The second piece that I want to talk through is linking your Google Analytics account to other Google properties. The first one that we're going to talk through is Google Search Console. So around 2013, Google basically made all of their searches private, which meant that they stopped showing keywords in Google Analytics. So that's keywords for organic search. To help circumvent that issue, we really suggest in signing up for Google Search Console, which is a separate property. It's a free service, much like all of Google's stuff. And basically, it will help you monitor and maintain your site's presence on Google search results. And the reason why we really like it is because, as you can see here in this sample report we have for WhereWhere, it's going to show you the queries that you show up for in Google search results. So it's going to say, hey, for WhereWhere, you showed up, for people searching for WhereWhere, you showed up 840 times in that specific time period that we have selected, and that we're in the top position. So the #1 position, which is great because that's our brand name, so hopefully we do show up first. And then it's going to tell us how many clicks we got through and the click-through rate. And this is great because you can kind of identify if there's keywords that you want to kind of focus on to bring up in the search results. You can start tracking where you are in that position. So to link these properties, what you need to do, one of the easiest, there's lots of ways to do it, but one of the easiest ones is to basically go to acquisition on the site sidebar. On every Google Analytics property, when you sign in, you're going to see a sidebar that's really important. It's how you navigate to different sections of Google Analytics. So to link the properties, you would go to acquisition, and then you go to Search Console and landing pages, and you'll come to this page that basically says you need to integrate Google Search Console with Google Analytics. So you click the button, and you will get to this page. You scroll to adjust the Search Console, and then you will get to this page, which basically you just click Add. All you need is to make sure that you are a verified owner of the Search Console and of Google Analytics. So you just need to use the same login information that you use for Google Analytics for Google Search Console, and it's pretty simple to integrate. And then once you do, you're going to get a report like this, which basically is going to show your keywords, the clicks, impressions, click-through rate, and average position right in Google Analytics instead of having to go to a separate property like Google Search Console. All right, so the next Google property that we suggest linking is Google AdWords. Obviously, this isn't relevant if you don't use Google AdWords. If you do, we always suggest linking it. Again, it's pretty simple to link up. You go to the admin section, and that's this little gear on the bottom left-hand corner. We're going to go there a lot today, so just so you know. And then you're going to go to the property. So we talked through, when you get to the admin section, there's going to be different columns properties, views, and your account level that you can manage. It's at the property level that you're going to link AdWords. Once you go there, you're going to be able to click continue. And all you need to make sure is that you're an admin for your AdWords account and your Google Analytics account. And you need to, again, make sure that that's the same email address that you use on both properties in order to link. Once you do, you get to bring in your click information, your cost information, and see it associated with your revenue. And that's super exciting because you're actually going to be able to see the return on your ad spend, which is vital to managing your AdWords account. And then we also want to track other campaigns besides Google. Although Google is super important, it's not the only advertising vehicle out there. So in order to track all your campaigns, Google has basically you can append parameters at the end of every URL that allows you to track any advertising in Google Analytics. So that is great for email campaigns. It's great for any type of third-party advertising you're doing. Maybe you're doing a blog post or doing a blog in conjunction with a blogger, and you'll want to make sure to tag any links from that blog site to your website. And to do it, it's pretty simple. You go to this URL that's mentioned in this deck. It's kind of a long URL, but basically you type in the first box, you're going to type in your URL that you want to take people to from your advertisement or your email. You want to put in the campaign source, and then you want to put in other details as you see fit. So you can put in campaign medium. So if your campaign source is Facebook, you could say that display is the medium, or maybe you want to say carousel and make the different types of ads a different campaign medium. And then you want to put in the specific name of the campaign, and then here we put in the campaign content as a type of campaign medium. It just depends on how you want to kind of slice and dice your data. After you put in all the tags, you generate the URL, and in the pink box at the bottom of your screen, you're going to see that full URL that contains all the tags you need in order to track that specific advertisement source. So you would take that URL and you copy and paste it into your email or your third-party advertising, just like you would if it was a normal URL. And once you do that, you're going to be able to see, and we have this blacked out for privacy reasons, but on the left, you'll be able to see the exact campaign name and the number of clicks or the costs and the revenue associated with it. If it's not an AdWords account, it might be, you might not have cost information in there, but you should be able to see the number of visits to your site from that campaign and the revenue associated with it. The fourth step that we want to talk about today are setting up goals. Goals are vital to non-e-commerce websites, but they can play an important role in e-commerce websites as well. So we're going to kind of talk through both of those scenarios here. So again, we're going to go to the handy dandy admin section of Google Analytics. So you would hit that gear again, and then you're going to see all these columns, account, property, view, and it's under the view setting that you're going to set up your goals. So you click on goals, and there's a few different types of goals that you can set up, but today we're going to focus on destination goals because that is the most common type of goal that you're going to use for Google Analytics. So you're going to, at the beginning, you're going to set up a goal. The first step is you choose a template, or you can choose a custom goal. Once you choose that, you can name what the goal is, and then we're going to select destination, since that's what we're talking about today. You hit continue, and then the most important thing that you need to know is what is the last destination that someone goes to track the goal. And here I would like to just take a step back and talk through setting up your website correctly. So I say this because Google Analytics makes it pretty simple to track different URLs. but very commonly websites will make you end on the same page that you started in if you're filling out a form. So my suggestion is to make sure that you're taking people to a thank you page at the end that changes the URL after they fill out a form. This isn't as much of an issue with e-commerce because generally they do take you to a different URL, but lots of times with non-e-commerce websites, a very common thing is that they fill out the form and they end up on the same URL as they started on. And again, just suggesting that you take them to a new URL. And that is so you can set up goals like this. So in this scenario, we're going to pretend that we are downloading a white paper, and that is the goal that we want to track. So our end destination is a thank you page, so it's thankyou.html. And then the funnel is optional here, but I like to use it generally, and that's for a couple reasons. One is that I think it gives you some more accurate tracking because someone might hit refresh and end up on the thank you page again, and that would show up as like 2 goals when you only want it to be 1. So here under funnel, you're going to just name the first step generally, and it might be it's the end of the URL for whatever white paper you want. So let's say that the URL is test.com/whitepaper.a.html. So that's the first step in your process, and then after they fill out the form, they end up on the thank you page. That is how you set up the goal. And you can make it required if you want to, or not. If they can get to the thank you page another way, you might not want to make it required. So once you do that, for a non-e-commerce website, again, this is really important because goals are really the only way that you're going to be able to track if your marketing is effective. For e-commerce, it's a lot easier because you have revenue, and that's your main goal generally for an e-commerce website. For non-e-commerce, you generally want to get a lead. So if that's the case and you want to collect email addresses, then you should set up a goal for any place on your website that you can collect email addresses. And here we're just showing that you can see by channel, so email or direct or organic search, what the goals were completed there. So if you look at goal conversion rate on the right here, you're going to be able to see that, oh, it looks like paid search has a huge goal conversion rate. So maybe we should start investing more on the paid search side. And that's how you would look at it. The next part of goals is you can see a funnel. And here, this isn't a super great example because you're only seeing 2 steps in the funnel. It's the beginning and then submitting the form. But this is where the e-commerce side starts mattering. You can set up a goal for cart completions, and you can kind of track every step of the way. So here we're looking at viewing the cart, checking, logging into checkout. You hit the checkout page, and then you hit the place order page. So this is great because you can actually see where people are falling out of the funnel, and you can see if you need to address any of those stages of the checkout process. All right, if you have an e-commerce website, you do need to add some extra code to your website to track e-commerce. So you will have to ask a developer to help with that. On your end, though, you do need to enable it in Google Analytics as well. And you do that, again, with the handy-dandy admin section of Google Analytics. And at the view level, you're going to just click Enable e-commerce. And it's pretty much as simple as that. So if you have the developers putting the code on their website and you've enabled it, then you'll be set up for e-commerce correctly. Once you enable e-commerce, again, you can see all the channels that you're kind of advertising in and then the revenue associated with it, which most e-commerce companies want to be able to see. All right, so let's talk through a few of the extras now that we have all the basics down. One of the little extras that I like to look at is site search, so enabling site search to be able to see what people are searching for on your website and how often they're searching on your website. And again, you're going to the admin section of Google Analytics. You're going to set up on the view side of things, you're going to set up site search. So it's pretty simple to set up. Again, you just enable it by clicking on. And then you're going to put in your query parameter is the second thing that you need. And on this example, on this URL example that we have up here, which is the test.com/example.php Q equals keyword. You will probably have some kind of URL that looks similar to this for your own site search results. In this specific example, it's the part after the question mark that is the query parameter. And you just put that into this box, and then you hit save. And that's all there is to it. So once you do that, you're going to be able to see visits with site search and visits without site search. And you're going to be able to see the number of search refinements and the search exits. So, and then most importantly, you're going to be able to see the search term that they're looking for, and then the number of times that people are looking for that, which is great because let's say in this example, it looks like people are searching for Christmas a lot. Maybe you don't have a Christmas category that is prevalent enough for people to find. Or maybe you need a call out on your homepage for it so people don't have to dig through your website to find it since it's so many people are looking for it. The next little extra that I like to enable is demographics. And again, you're going to the admin section of your Google Analytics account. You're going to go to the property section, and then underneath that, you're going to be able to see property settings and advertising features, and you just enable demographics and interest reports. And that's as simple as it is. You just click on. Once you do that, you're going to be able to see really awesome demographics about your visitors to your website. You're going to be able to see how much of your website is male versus female, and then the average ages that are going. So you can see for this specific website, it's very heavily skewed female, and it's younger. So it's 25 to 34 is their big age group. So that can really guide you in the type of content that you're producing for folks. So the type of advertisements that you're putting together, the types of emails, all that good stuff. Additionally, you'll also be able to see other types of segments that they're interested in, and this can kind of help gear you towards what types of advertising you would like to do. So in this particular instance, home and garden seems to be a really popular segment that people have an affinity towards. So maybe you want to look at home and garden blogs or home decor blogs to start partnering with that blog to put together some content. All right, now we're going to go through some need-to-know terms. The first term that I want to talk through is sessions versus users. So users are individuals. So if I go to your website 5 times, I would only be counted as one user. But for sessions, I would be counted 5 times because I went to and started 5 sessions on your website. So that's the difference between users and sessions. Users are individuals. Sessions is taking a look at total visits. Bounce rate. Bounce rate is an interesting term. It is it's a metric, which means that the person leaves the same page that they entered in on. So that could be the home page, or it could be a specific landing page that you're taking them to from an advertisement. Generally, I look at bounce rate, and you can use it as a gear for how relevant that page is to folks. But it needs to be taken into context. So if it's a product detail page that you're looking at, then you would expect the bounce rate to be fairly low. If it's the contact us page where they're trying to find out your phone number to call you, then the bounce rate is probably going to be pretty high, and that's okay. So you just want to take everything into context. All right, so let's talk through the different vehicles for acquisition. The first one is direct, that you'll see a lot on Google Analytics. Direct means that they're going directly to the browser and typing in your URL. Organic means that they're searching for a specific keyword within the search engine and then clicking on the search results to go to your website. And then referral is that your website, they're clicking on your website from a third-party website. So in this instance, IBM is a referral for where. If they go to IBM.com and they click on this URL, they show up as a referral in our report. Couple other terms, new versus returning. New means that they have not visited the website before, and returning means that they're coming back. I will pause here to kind of say that as a caveat, that and almost every single analytics platform is cookie-based, and that comes with some minuses in that people can delete cookies. So if someone deletes all their cookies, they will show up as a new visitor again, even though they've been to your website before. So Google Analytics you should be looking at trends, not looking for exact numbers. Frequency and recency just means how often are they coming and how often are they coming back to the website. And then engagement generally is talking through how long they're on the website, the number of sessions that they have, and page views. All right, so I want to talk through my top 5 reports that I like to view on Google Analytics. My very favorite report, and you've seen this a couple of times already in this deck, is the channels report. And you go to it on the left-hand side bar. It's under acquisition, all traffic, and then channels. This report is going to very quickly tell you how effective specific channels are for your marketing. So you can see on the left-hand side here, the default channel grouping is broken down by email, paid search, organic search, direct, referral, social, display. So you can see how many people are coming in from that. The conversion rate, so how many transactions, how many of those people that visited actually turned into a transaction, and then the revenue associated with it. Again, if you're a non-e-commerce website, that's when goals are important. So you'll be able to see each channel and the goals associated with each channel and the conversion rate. And this report is going to quickly tell you where you should invest your money and where maybe you should stop investing. All right, my number 2 report that I like to look through is the mobile report. And if you go under audience on the left-hand sidebar, and then under mobile and overview, you're going to be able to see a breakdown between mobile, desktop, and tablet users. And I love this report because it's going to tell you how important your mobile audience is to you. So everyone is talking about mobile and how important it is and how we should all invest in it. This report's going to tell you how important it is for you to invest in it and how much effort you should be putting into it. For this example, you could see that 45% of their revenue is coming from mobile. So it is pretty important for this particular company to be investing heavily in mobile. So that means responsive websites and responsive mobile design and all that good stuff. All right, my third top report is, I feel like kind of like David Letterman with our top 10, except we're doing top 5. But my number 3 report is the real-time report. And this you get to by going to reports and then real-time, and overview is this particular one, but all of the reports under real-time are actually real-time, meaning you'll be able to see how many users are on the site, on your website right now. And I like this report for a couple reasons. One is that it allows for testing very quickly. So you could check that that URL that you built is actually tracking correctly. And you can see it right away, which is really important. Number 2, it's going to tell you if you're having any specific issues on the website. So if all of a sudden your traffic goes to 0, you're going to know that there's an issue on your website. And then it also is going to tell you load. So most of you probably have threshold of how many users can be on your website at once. And I know everyone probably wishes this was their problem, that they have too many people to their website, but obviously that can bring down servers if you have too many people, depending on how you're hosted and all that good stuff. But it's a great way to monitor what's happening right now. And then the last reason why I like to look at it is if you're throwing a big campaign, you can see right then and there how successful that campaign is. All right, number 4, assisted conversions. And here's where I'm going to pause again to kind of fill you in a backstory of how Google Analytics works. So Google Analytics attributes all revenue to the last click that the person did, the visitor did. So if someone comes from email to the website 3 times and then goes to pay-per-click or goes to a paid ad and clicks on that and then purchases, all that revenue will be attributed to the pay-per-click ad. One caveat there is that direct never overwrites any other channel. So if someone goes to an email, clicks on, doesn't purchase, and then goes back and types in the URL on their browser and then makes the purchase, that revenue will still be attributed to the email. But if they did the same thing and clicked on a paid ad, the revenue would be attributed to the paid ad. Hopefully that makes sense. The reason why I'm telling you all that is because it works differently in the assisted conversion report. So to get to this report, on the left-hand side bar, you're going to go to conversions, the multi-channel funnel, and then assisted conversions. And this is going to give you an idea of how much channels are contributing to that end goal or that purchase. And I say this because you, on the previous channel report, might have noticed that the social media network wasn't really performing that well compared to other channels. But if you look here, you can see that it contributes a lot or assists in a purchase more often than it's the last click. And you can tell that pretty quickly on the most right-hand column of this report. You're going to see a number, and the higher that number is, so if it's over 1, then it more heavily contributes to an assisted conversions versus the last click conversion. So you might have decided to nix social networks or social media advertising in the previous channel report, and now you might want to keep it because it assists in a lot of conversions. All right, and the last report we're going to talk about today is the benchmarking report. And I honestly don't find this report that useful from an analytics perspective, but so many people ask for this type of report that we are throwing it in here. You can get to the benchmarking report, and you can pretty much then compare yourself to other people that are in similar industries. The reason why I don't love this report is because it's not going to tell you specific enough probably for you. Their industries are pretty broad, so you have to keep that into consideration as you're looking at this. But it's good, I guess, to get kind of a roundabout, are you doing more email or less email than your competitors? And how is that email performing compared to your competitors? So this benchmark report is able to kind of tell you that information. All right, so now I want to talk through some helpful tips and tricks. One of my favorite features of Google Analytics is annotations, which is so simple, but basically on every single report, you're going to see on the right-hand side, you'll see this plus create new annotation. If you click that, you can kind of write in anything you want, any notes. So let's say you were mentioned on Good Morning America, or let's say you sent out an email blast to your entire list, or you're running a 50% off promotion, or whatever it is, you can annotate if there's a specific spike, like this one, maybe that's when your product was mentioned on GMA. Similarly, you want to do that for dips. So maybe something went wrong with your website, or something went wrong with tracking, or whatever it is, you want to be able to explain those dips too. And you'll see on the second chart on this deck, you're going to see that there's little bubbles all along the timeline, and that's when different events occurred. And it's so important that you document all of this stuff so that when you go back and you're doing like year-over-year comparisons, or you're looking at for a specific report, you can explain why there was that spike or why there was that dip. So I will say it over and over again, make sure to annotate everything and document everything. All right, the next tip I have for you is setting up custom alerts. So again, we're going to go to the trustee admin section of your Google Analytics account. And then under View, you're going to click on Custom Alerts. And I like using custom alerts because not everyone can be tied to Google Analytics 24/7. But Google Analytics can be a great way to kind of monitor your website. So I put in there a no order alert for a client. And that just means you click the plus sign of new alert. You set in the parameters that if no orders have happened within 1 day, that you need to be sent an alert. And basically it'll email you and tell you, hey, you have your no order alert is going off. So you can jump in and see what's going on with your website, maybe alert your development team or whatever else, so that you can resolve the issue as quickly as possible. All right, this one's a pretty simple tip, but nonetheless, I like it. If you go to the little caret next to the at the bottom of your screen, you can click on it and it will make your screen bigger, which is always easier to look at bigger things than smaller things. And if you click it again, it will bring the toolbar back up. That's a super minor tip, but one that I think is useful nonetheless. All right, the next one, very common request we have is, can you share these reports with people? And the answer is yes, you can. So on the top right-hand corner of all your reports, you're going to see this little toolbar that has save, export, share, intelligence. And if you click on share, you're going to get this little email report pop-up. And you can put in an email address, maybe it's your boss or coworker or whoever you want to send it to. And you could pick the type of report that you want, if you want it in PDF format or Excel format. And then you can choose the frequency. So maybe you just need to send it this one time, but you can choose to do it daily or weekly or monthly. It just depends on whatever your preference is. All right, so we're coming to the end of the presentation. I do want to share with you some awesome resources. The first one, of course, is a shout out to WhereWhere. On our blog, we do have a ton of tips for Google Analytics, and you can find that on our analytics section of our blog. The second resource is Google Analytics Help. Google Help is amazing. It can tell you and get you through almost any place that you're stuck. I really highly suggest kind of going in there and exploring help when you're running into issues. And then the last resource I'll mention is the Google Analytics Debugger plugin. And this is a little bit more technical, so it might not be for everybody, but you might run into an issue where Google Analytics isn't tracking how you think it should. You can install a plugin to your browser, and it will basically kind of step you through what tags are firing and when, so that you can kind of help troubleshoot if there's an issue with your code, with your Google Analytics code. All right, so let's go through some key takeaways. The first thing that we did is ready your website, set your goals. You want to customize and manage the reports that you want and need. You want to make sure that you're looking at activity across all of your channels and pay attention to your audience's behavior. And then the biggest key takeaway I can tell you is to kind of get in there and start playing around. The fastest way that you can learn is actually setting up Google Analytics. If you're a beginner, set it up on a blog. Start a blog. Put Google Analytics on your blog site so that you can actually just start digging around the reports and seeing what's available. It's the easiest way to learn. and then start using Google Help when you run into issues. So with that, we're going to take any questions. And while we're waiting for questions, I kind of want to give a shout out to WhereAware. We can help you with a bunch of different services. We do website development and email automation, SEO, pay-per-click. So we kind of do it all, and we can help you set up Google Analytics correctly and then help you monitor how your channels are performing. So please get in touch, info@whereaware.com, if you have any questions about services that we can kind of perform for you. So Lauren, any questions?
Yes, we have gotten a lot of questions, so I'll try to get to as many as possible. Let me see. So someone asked how often and how intensely you should be checking the tracking. How frequently should you be doing this?
So I actually start my day with Google Analytics every day. I'm a numbers person though, and I really enjoy that. I think it depends on the type of person you are. I would at least go in every other day, check things, but it's basically how you measure your success. So you definitely want to get in there and check how your different emails are performing, how your pay-per-click is performing, organic search, and it also is going to alert you if there's something going on with your website that you might not be aware of.
Okay, great. Let's see. So when you're setting up your Google Analytics, do you have to have the same code set on every page of your website?
Yeah, so you just copy and paste that exact same code on every page. You can put two separate pieces of code on one page if you want to, and there's different reasons why that you might need to do that. But in general, it's just you copy and paste the same code on every single page.
Okay, awesome. Okay, someone asked what the main advantages are of tracking email campaigns in Google Analytics as opposed to their email platform.
So some email platforms might include revenue, but the main advantage to me is being able to see what actually happened on your website from that email. So while your email platform can tell you clicks and opens, it usually doesn't tell you what the goal, like if someone filled out a form or made a purchase, unless you put that code on your site. And then if your email platform does allow you to do that, I would still advocate for Google Analytics because it's a platform where you can see every channel, not just email. You can see your pay-per-click channel and you can see your organic search channel all in one spot instead of having to kind of navigate to your email platform to see that and then back to Google Analytics to see pay-per-click.
Okay. So when you place a tracking code on your website through Google Analytics, does the data only start accumulating once the tracking code was placed, or does it bring the history from your website into that as well?
Good question, and that's actually a very common question we get as well. It will only start tracking from that point forward. So I will say that lots of times people, when they're building a new website, are like, oh, I need a new Google Analytics account. If you had an account already associated with your old website, we highly, highly suggest that you use that same code on your new website. And it's not the exact same code because Google updates their code often, but it's the same ID that you had on your old website. We suggest bringing it over to your new website, and that's to preserve the history. Because if you don't, you can't really compare how your old website did to your new website.
Okay. Someone asked, are referrals the same as backlinks?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So you would look at referrals. Referrals are going to tell you basically any website where someone has a link to your website on it, and they're coming from that website to your website.
Okay. So earlier in the webinar, you were talking about the channels report, and I had a couple people ask what would fall under the other category.
I was hoping you wouldn't notice that. Usually the other category is items that are not tagged correctly. And that's just what it is.
Okay. How do you eliminate spam bots that impact your data?
So unfortunately, there's not really a great way to do that. You can handle it a couple different ways. Google in the admin section does allow you to, it says that you could check a box to say remove bots. It doesn't work that well. It sometimes removes some, other times doesn't. You can remove specific IP addresses if you know where the bot is coming from. And then lastly, you might have to use a filter to kind of filter out the bad visits. Google doesn't have a great way. Like if you are being spammed nonstop, I have not found an awesome way to kind of take care of that in your reports.
Okay. Are bots and crawlers counted as visitors or sessions?
Both. So if that same bot comes back multiple times, it would be counted as one visit, but multiple sessions, or one user, multiple sessions.
Okay. Okay, I had some people ask if there's a way to differentiate between their employees on the site versus actual people who are visiting the site.
Yeah, there is a way to do that, and that is setting up a filter in Google Analytics that basically filters out your own IP address. It's not too complicated, and you do that within the admin section, and maybe that's a topic for Google Analytics 102.
Okay. Let's see. Sorry. Okay. Somebody asked, can users be classified as new visitors and returning visitors? How do you compare users to visitors?
A user would be, if it's basically whatever they are at that time period that you're looking at. That's how they're classified. So if they're a returning visitor during that time, everything in Google Analytics is set to a specific time period. You have to choose the dates of the report that you're looking at. So if the user is new during that time period, or they visited as a new person, then they would be counted as new. If they visited during the time period again, during that time period, they would be counted as a returning visitor.
Okay. Okay, so you talked about demographics tracking.
Yep.
How does it know the gender and age of the users?
That's a great question. It's a little complicated, but basically Google uses third parties essentially to track that information, and it's how they gather all that information for advertising too. If you think about it, right? They allow you to pick all the demographics and building an audience for AdWords. They're collecting all of that information based on the pages that you visit, what you're viewing, what ads you're clicking on. So they're collecting all that information as you're running through it, and then they're putting it in to Google Analytics to kind of bucket your visitors into those specific groups.
Okay. Well, we're getting a lot of questions right now. Let's see. Okay, so someone's asking if there's a certification that can tell you whether a person is capable to handle Google Analytics or not.
Yes, you can become Google Analytics certified.
Okay. A lot of people are asking how to find the benchmarking report. I know you talked about it.
Yes. It is, let me just pull up Google Analytics. Sorry, one second. Let's see. If you go, it's under Audience. On the left-hand side, on the left-hand bar, it's under Audience, and then you'll see a tab at the very bottom of that that has benchmarking.
Okay. Awesome, thank you. Sorry. Okay. How do you remove your local IP if you're in a large office where employees are all under one IP?
Again, you can do that within the admin section of Google Analytics, and I don't want to walk through it right now, but if you want to ask that question offline, then I can certainly walk you through it, and we will also probably address that in a Google Analytics 102, and it's a very common question. We get it a lot, so we can certainly address that in a follow-up Google Analytics webinar.
Okay, awesome. Can other visualization programs be integrated with Google Analytics to improve the reporting and increase the types of analysis that it does?
So I see that question is twofold. One, you can certainly integrate Google Analytics in a lot of BI tools. Most BI tools will integrate with Google Analytics to create the visualizations that you want. Second, Google Analytics has a lot of apps or plugins that you can use with Google Analytics. Some are free, some are paid. A lot of them do focus around providing different types of visualizations so you can see your data differently.
Okay.
And maybe that's another topic that we can cover in 102 is the different types of apps that are out there that you can kind of apply on top of Google Analytics.
Okay. Awesome.
We have time for one more question.
One more, yeah. Let's see. So many keep coming in. So someone asked about B2B companies. How does Google Analytics track revenue?
So if you have e-commerce on your website, if the person can actually purchase on your website, then you're just going to enable e-commerce codes like we talked about during the webinar. If you do not have e-commerce on your website, then Google Analytics is not going to be able to track revenue. I mean, there are ways you can get around it, but in general, for a 101 course, you're not going to be able to track e-commerce if you don't have it on your website. That's when we would suggest setting up goals to kind of fulfill that secondary, to fulfill how well your different channels are performing. And you could set up goals if they, I don't know, fill out a form to contact a sales rep or whatever it is that you might have on your website that is leading them to purchase.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you, Tia. I think that's all that we have time for today. But thank you, everyone, for joining our webinar today. As we said, we're going to be sending out a recording of the webinar, all of the slides, and a handy Google Analytics checklist. So be checking your emails either tonight or tomorrow and look out for that. And keep an eye out for a Google Analytics 102 webinar that we'll probably be announcing. And otherwise, thank you for joining, and I hope you have a great holiday season.
Thanks, everybody.